absolutely. Real quick, let me
Yes.
cut you off real quick. Were you that parent that somehow got the bootleg cable?
Yep, sure did. As soon as I could. Yes, when I found, but we didn't. I'm joking, but I did, but
I
not
know.
whenever. Yeah, when
Started.
Well, welcome everyone to the Carver Ave Chronicles podcast with your host today, Trae, and my brother also is on here, the co-host, Tone, and we have a special guest. I'm super
Woo,
excited. She's one of
woo.
my shine sisters. Woo, woo. And her
Okay.
name is Nettie Jones. And I'm
Hey,
just
hold on,
excited
hold
about
on,
our
hold on,
topic
hold
on
on,
today.
hold
We're
on.
going to talk
Now,
about
her title is Evangelist Nettie Jones. We got to get it right now.
my apologies. Our apologies.
Nettie's okay.
So
Huh?
Nettie's okay.
No, he
She's
wanted me to get this correct. I apologize, Mrs. Look, cause she's married now, Mrs. There you gotta be all messed up.
Mrs.
Evangelist
Evangelist
Nettie
Nettie
Jones.
Jones.
I got this. You just got me
All
all
right.
messed up. I prepared for this before I got on here. That living cross my mind.
Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good. But no, I'm just super excited because she is a powerhouse in her own right. And I'm just excited about what we're going to talk about on today because I truly believe the words that's going to come out of her mouth is going to be so empowering and life changing.
Okay.
So we're ready whenever you are. So you want to tell us a little bit about yourself first?
Well, yeah, I'll start there to kind of loosen me up. Um, as an evangelist, honestly, um, though I don't like to say preach. I like to say teach. Though I stand behind a podium to encourage others and to explicitly like decipher the word to help it still does me um not as much joy as one-on-one. So that's something that is dear to my heart, where you put me in that environment where I can talk to that person one-on-one. It's a different level for me, a different anxiety. It's different. So as an evangelist, first of all, I am a wife, a mother, a grandmother, I'm a sister, I'm an auntie, and I'm a friend. I'm all of those compiled into one, which in fact, I feel like I'm spread so thin at times. I'm
Hmm.
finding myself at 56, and you would think, hey, at 56, I should know who I am. But every day I'm learning something new about Nettie. Take off the title. I normally don't even put evangelist on nothing that I do because I just feel like the life that I exemplify, you would know who I am. It doesn't even have to be event. You'll just know that I am a true woman of God. That's all that matters. Um, I have a passion for people. Um, I was asked the question, who would you call your target audience? Mine would be everybody. That's a part of
Hmm.
evangelizing. You have to know, you know, there's a scripture that says, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. You have to know how to become them to win them, which means I don't have to
Hmm.
drink and party with you to win you, but I got to know your mind. I got to kind of feel what you're feeling. So what you will know about me is I don't judge. I don't care if you're a prostitute or an apostle. Um, I see you as the same. You're no better than the next. We're all just sinners saved by grace. And for me, um, that keeps me balanced when it comes to people. And it has caused my heart to be full of love versus doing like they did. There's a biblical parable that Jesus taught about, the old dirty, and I'm paraphrasing, the old dirty worn out person to come in with the clothes that were raggedy and torn, and they set them at the back, but they put the people that were
Hmm.
lavished up at the front. Well, I'm that
Hmm.
one. You bring me the dirty ones, the stinking ones, the drunks, those, you bring them to
Yes,
the
yes.
front. And then y'all that got it, as you say, y'all sit at the back. So I am that type that I want to go and I want to reach as many people as I can reach. If but one conversation, I want it to matter and mean something. That seed that's planted, it will grow. I don't care who comes along and water it. That seed will
Mhm.
grow because I planted it in good soil.
What's the biggest challenge you find as you're getting to know someone that might be out of touch with the church, hasn't been to church in a while, never even been to church? How do you connect with that person to try to win them over?
I don't talk. I let them talk. That's the easiest way to get to know
Oh yeah.
someone.
Yes.
I don't go and throw up on them. I
Mhm.
I take a seat and I listen and I
Mhm.
act. I don't passively, I actively listen. And I'll give you a prime example. I have two family members very close to me, females. One's still on drugs, one has been off for about 9 years. Um, one of the things that they say to me is this: out of my entire family, you're one of the ones that, knowing what I did and was doing, never treated me any different. So we have to understand that when we're ministering, many people
Right.
don't want to come inside the building.
Right.
And it's not that it's our fault who's
Mhm.
inside the building. What we what we relay, um, their first instinct is normally the right instinct.
Mhm.
If with what you give off. So if your energy is not, I don't walk up to people and say, "Hey, my name is Evangelist Nettie." You know, the first thing I say to people, even strangers, "Hey, how's your day?" You know, or
Yeah.
a smile. So
Mhm.
what you see first about me is what you're going to remember. And that's how I win people over to believing that God is real. If I meet a drunk on the corner, and God has dealt with me for over 30 years in this particular, if I meet a drunk on the corner, I don't care if he's got a bottle in his hand drinking. If he says, "I'm hungry," I'm going to give him some food. I may not put that money in his hand, but I'm going to
Mhm.
get him some food.
Mhm.
So that's how I'm able to minister to them. I become them. I may not have. I've never taken a drink. I've never smoked a cigarette. I've never been a party goer, but I can hang with them,
Right.
and they would never know that I've never done it
Mhm.
because I won't act like I'm better than them.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. Um, so are you in particular you want to talk about childhood trauma? Um, and is this something that you kind of is this something you're pushing now as far as materials or anything you're working on or
I am writing my second book. As Tremaine said, we were co-authors in Shine, anthology of
Mhm.
Shine, and so that project um, triggered. I hope I don't get emotional here. Um, that project triggered something that was in me, that there were things that I never talked about as a child,
Mhm.
and even as an adult. But the reason why I am focusing on childhood trauma, because we have people in their 30, 40, 50s, and 60s dealing with stuff, and people will say they know better when in
Right.
actuality they
They
really
don't.
don't,
Mhm.
because they can't pinpoint where it started.
Right.
And if you don't know the root of a thing, you don't know how to solve it.
Right.
And so, been married almost 3 years, going on 3 years now, and it's my third marriage. And it's all because as a child, what I went through and I endured, I
Mhm.
didn't understand what was causing me to make the decisions that I was making until God showed me one night on the floor in prayer. So that's why I'm going back to the childhood. If we don't deal with the child and the adult,
Yes.
I don't care how many relationships you're in, how many ministries you start, how many jobs you're
Mhm.
on, you
Mhm.
carry that trauma with you in every
Right.
relationship.
Right.
And I'm not saying that it would disappear overnight, but
Right.
let me tell you, the work in process is work. It's worth the work in
It
process.
sure is.
Um, that feeling of deliverance,
Mhm.
it's nothing like it.
No, it's not. You're right.
It's nothing like it.
Mm-mm.
yeah. Um, me and Tremaine talked about this about the childhood trauma, just because, like, there were certain things that that I even had to realize happened or didn't happen because going back to childhood we didn't experience certain things, or
Mhm.
whatever the case may be. We didn't know how to showcase, let's say, love, for instance, or how to celebrate someone or something, because we never experienced those things.
Right.
It took us, actually talking about that on this podcast, for me to realize, oh, because I didn't do this as a child, it didn't really resonate with me. That's why I really don't care for it now. you
Mhm.
know.
Oh, you all in my go ahead. I mean, you literally are all in it. That
Well, yeah. But I mean, that's what for me. That's how I can kind of relate to this topic, and that's wanted to bring that up, because a lot of times I think that's the root of it. I mean, like you were saying, things that you've endured, or the things you maybe have not felt or went through, you don't know how to react when those things come about, and as you get older, because you never
Right.
absolutely,
experienced it. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. And I I've experienced so many things at a young age. Um, Tremaine, you were at conversation camp this year past, right?
No, I was at the house. I didn't go to the lake.
Oh, you didn't make it to the lake
Mm-mm.
in
No.
2023. Ah,
No.
gosh. Well, I'm
No,
gonna
I
tell
didn't
you,
make it up.
Apostle Rain said something to me, and it was really crazy because she said, I could remember telling God, I don't want to sabotage this marriage, right?
Mhm.
And she said to me, she said, I hear you saying you don't want to sabotage. She said, you won't. She said, the role that God has you in, the other ones were ones that you picked. She
Wow.
said, and they were narcissists. They wanted to control you.
Mm.
She said, but every time you broke out.
Mm.
And I didn't really think about this till months later, went back and looked at the prophetic word. She said, honey, as a prophet, you something else. You're, and I don't even deem myself that. I don't see that. I'm telling you,
Mhm.
when I say I'm not against titles, but I don't, to some degree, I don't like them. I'm just being very honest, because I don't
Yeah.
want somebody to try to reverence me
Right.
versus God. Do away
Right.
with the title. I can mess up. When you start to
Mhm.
put the title there, there's a higher level and dimension of accountability. And
Right.
it's not that I don't want to own up to that accountability, but I don't want people to forget that I am human and I
Right.
still operate in this. And so when I
Mhm.
mess up, don't hold that over my head,
Right.
because I have an advocate. And so I
Mhm.
know how to repent. So what I wanted to say was, um, Rain actually spoke a word into my life, and she
Okay.
said, this one is who God sent, which I knew it. And she said, but for where you're going. And I started to reflect, y'all, like literally, why did I make decisions that I made? To never have
Mhm.
drunk, I've never taken a swallow of alcohol. I've never smoked a cigarette. Well, I take that back. Probably when I was about 7 or 8, I had a fast behind sister that was older than me who would steal my dad's
Mhm.
cigarettes and try to make us puff. And I think I took
Yeah.
a puff and I couldn't stand it. So I've never really drank, smoke. I wasn't a party goer. I can't dance. I really can't. No beat, no
Mhm.
rhythm at all. But there was one thing that I had a problem with, and it was being promiscuous. But
Mhm.
that was something that I was taught prematurely,
Right.
not by my family, but being
Mhm.
raped. Okay, take
Right. Right.
take
Right.
take that, right at 14.
Mhm.
Um, I was very good in basketball. I was popular. Everybody looked up to me, but my dad would always call me this. You so fast. When really and truly I wasn't. I had an old soul. I
Mhm.
love people. I love
Yeah.
conversations.
Yeah.
And so
Yes.
he would deem that as being fast, but that wasn't the case. And so
Mhm.
once that was spoken over me, that seed took root. And
Mm.
oftentimes we don't understand why we are acting a certain way, but things have been spoken over. And as a child, I knew nothing about word curses. And we think word curses is people who are totally against us. No, it's not. So as a little girl, being, violated, number one. And then my dad, he could only show me what he knew how to show me. He
Right.
didn't know how to show me love. Follow
Right.
me around the world playing basketball. I mean, and I was good. And I mean, and I knew something in him was proud, but he didn't know how to relay that to me. So I
Mhm.
never heard the words, I love you. And I want y'all to hear me. I never heard those words for what
Mhm.
I was born with, because Jeremiah said, the Lord told him, I knew you before you
Yes.
even entered to your mother's womb.
Right.
God gives us to who he chooses for us to raise.
Right.
Now,
Right.
he knows what's going to happen, but at the same time, we still have a volition of choice. So my
Yes.
mom did everything she was supposed to do,
Mhm.
absolutely everything and above. But as an evangelist, I want y'all to hear me. As an evangelist, because we give out so much love, we need a
Yes.
lot of love. And I think that
Right.
is the thing. Like, even in my marriage now, I'm struggling. And you
Mhm.
won't get people to be transparent about that. I'm struggling because he doesn't understand it.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to make him understand something that he's never dealt with.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I can I don't
Real.
I don't necessarily need, I love the spiritual covering, but not as much as I just need to be poured into with love, because I
Yes.
give it out a lot. Anything that you give a lot of, you need a lot of back. And
Yes.
so it could be just a word spoken into my life. Hey, I am praying for you today. Hey, I was thinking about you. Those kind of things, it's like a magnet for me, and it expounds so widely until
Mhm.
it covers me. It covers me as I go to my day and day. So never being told I was loved, never being told I was loved caused me to not know, or even I couldn't even insinuate what love was. So
Yes.
when a guy would say to me, hey, they're after me because I'm popular,
Mhm.
and being very my shape, the way I carry
Mhm.
myself, very mature for my age back then. They're after that, not
Mhm.
this.
Right.
And so I didn't understand the difference.
Right.
Why am I so I'm so like over the hills about childhood trauma at 56? I'm really just getting it. But
Mhm.
if somebody would have known how to nurture what was in me, then before now I could be helping somebody, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Perfectly good
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Like you all in my story, in my life.
Yeah.
But go ahead,
Yeah.
Tony.
I mean, so many people got that same story.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
For sure, that's my story. Like I was telling, Tremaine, I don't fault my parents because if
Mm,
they
Mm-mm.
weren't shown or felt anything, I can't
What can
expect
they
them
give?
to.
yeah.
Yeah, I can't.
Mhm.
I can be mad at them. I can be mad at them.
Mm-mm.
I'm just grateful that I learned. It did take a little while, like you said. I mean, later age to realize, how to do things. But yeah, I don't blame my parents at all. I do have a question though. When you mentioned you're struggling with your marriage, so um, is this like, where is he in his spiritual life? Is he on the same level as you, or
No,
what's okay? Okay.
no. So and I'll share this because I was Tremaine knows my story from
Hmm.
Shine
Yeah.
Anthology.
Mhm.
I was happy and content in that place of
Mhm.
being by myself, but it took
Mhm.
me a long time, Tony, to get there. So in my last marriage, I went through pure hell. I'll tell anybody. I'm not One of the things about me, I'm very transparent. That's not good for some people, but
Mhm.
for me, it keeps me free. You're not going to hold anything over my head, but it also will help somebody else who's afraid to talk about what I went through, but will still get the tools to come out of what they're in. So it
Yes.
doesn't matter how you see me. God has certain people set aside to help other people, whether
Right.
they ever come out of the closet or not. But one of the things back in 2015, where I consciously made the decision, where it was actually 2013, but by 2014 I knew that that marriage was over. Um,
Mhm.
but I did not know who I was then,
Yeah.
and people would say, "You didn't know?" No, I didn't. 2014, I didn't, and so I can remember contemplating whether I was going to try to make this marriage work that was never a marriage. This dude
Mhm.
was strung out on drugs, And can I say, I felt like both marriages that I was in prior to this one were almost identical. So you say to yourself, how? How in the world could someone who's following Christ make the same decision, almost identical,
Mhm.
except the second one was worse than the first? How? And so I can remember, you know, separating from him and saying, and I used to use this as an excuse. He caught me at a vulnerable state. No, that's not the case. Because had I been in my word, had I been feeding my spirit, man, had I been doing what I was supposed to do, I would have been prepared for when the enemy came,
Right.
but I
Right. Right.
wasn't. And you won't
Mhm.
hear people say that. I wasn't.
Right.
My
Yeah.
guard was down. My son had just got
Mhm.
shot. I mean, I had just got out the hospital literally. And it, oh God. So anyway, went through that marriage. We got married 2011. It didn't last. I say 2013. It was pretty much done. I was the one that was saying, should I, out of embarrassment, should I
Mhm.
try? Should I? I don't want nobody to say I was a failure twice. I don't,
Mhm.
I did the same thing. God, you got to change this man. Lord, you need. And I remember specifically going to church one Thursday night in Bible study, and Apostle was preaching. And I asked the question. And I that's why I tell people Bible study is so important because
Right.
you get to ask those questions. Sunday service is good, but Sunday school and Bible study is the place you need to be because that's where you're taught.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
where you're taught at, you could take that and make it applicable to your life. But just
Right.
hearing across the pulpit, if you're not studying it, it's hard to just take all of that and digest it.
Right.
So we were in
Mhm.
Bible study and I raised my hand because I am a person, I'm just not afraid to say whatever. When it comes to my freedom, it doesn't matter. Enemy is necessary for me. So I
Mhm.
posed the question, Tremaine. I said, tell me why am I making the same dumb mistakes over and over? Do I have a magnet on my forehead?
Mhm.
I said, it doesn't make sense. I don't get it. Why
Mhm.
am I doing this? He said something to me, y'all, that was so profound. He said, do you really want to know? I said, and in my mind, I'm like, yeah, Joker, I want to know. I don't want to keep going in
Right.
circles.
Mhm.
He said to me, he said, and this hurt me to my heart. And it took me about 4 days to really accept it. He said, because you do not value who you are.
Yep.
And he
That's it.
stopped. And I said, hold up, man. I think I'm nice looking. I carry myself well. I think I'm doing okay for myself.
Mhm.
Dress nice, all of that, right? So I'm still sitting there like, I don't understand what he's saying. So he's still teaching. And I
Yeah.
threw my hand up again. I said, can you explain that to me? And these words here changed my life forever. And even in my right now, I'm going back and reverting to what he said. And I'm getting back to the place of applying that same thing to my life. He said these words: when you value who you
Right.
are mindful of who's in
Mhm.
your space. I
Right.
said, what?
It's good.
And I
Thank
didn't
you.
say anything throughout the rest of the service. But when I
Mhm.
got home, Tony, I began to really analyze those words that came from this man's mouth. And on about the fourth day, I remember falling to my knees and I said, God, I don't care what it takes. I won't go back. I'm
Mhm.
going forward. And I'm telling you, it was a struggle. It was a struggle. It didn't happen overnight.
Oh
It
no.
was a daily process of
Mhm.
feeding my spirit man and denying it my flesh. And the one thing that really began to change my life, and I forgot about men, period. And when I say that, I mean I just blocked out and I
Yeah.
became
Yeah.
tunnel vision and focused on God and
Right.
me and my
Mhm.
children. And so I remember standing in my mirror and the Lord, I said, God, where do I go from here? And the Holy Spirit spoke to me and said, fall back in love with yourself.
Yes.
And I said to myself, why would you say that? Because I really thought that I had given away everything God had given me. I had nothing left. I really, you ever felt like you just were not doing nothing that he called you to do?
Right.
You're just mocking time. But he
Mhm.
said to me, and I said, why would you tell me to fall back in love with myself instead of falling back in love with you? And God spoke to me in a still small voice. And he says, when you fall back in love with yourself, you
Mhm.
will fall back in love with me because I live in you. And from
Right.
that day, y'all, my life changed. But that doesn't stop the enemy because he gonna constantly
Oh, of
God,
course.
and I am what I realized
Yeah.
from the trauma that I experienced as a child, I am now able to deal with things as an adult. I think my husband kind of think I'm crazy sometimes because I run off. You can hear me talk. I'm like that. When I get frustrated, I say things, and sometimes we say things, think we're fixing it, we're
Uh
making
huh.
it worse.
Right.
But I can't hold that against me because I'm still learning. I'm 56, but I'm still a babe in some things because I didn't
Mhm.
get it when I was a child, if that makes sense.
Right.
So
Right.
that
Right. Perfectly
stage that
said.
I'm at now,
Right.
where I might be just learning to ride that tricycle, and it's got to have the training wheels on it. This marriage is different from any other marriage. This was God ordained.
Mhm.
All the other ones were ones that I chose. This was God. So now I got to go back and say, I got to act as if I wasn't married before. So I'm going to
Mhm.
mess up. But
Right.
I can't control how he handles it. But I can't stay where I'm at. I have to
Right.
literally say, God, forgive me, ask him to forgive me, and I have to keep moving because somebody else is waiting on me on the other side of whatever test I just failed and I rectified
Mhm.
it. There's somebody waiting on the other side for me to tell them you can get through this because I just came out of it.
Right.
Okay.
I have a
Yeah.
question really quick. Oh, go ahead.
No, you're fine. Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, in what ways do you practice personal self care, and how do you maintain it?
Did you have to
Your
ask me that?
mental. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, look, I
Uh,
mean.
no, I'm going to tell you something.
Uh huh.
If this is really an emotional part of my life,
Okay.
that caused me to really like cry. Um,
Okay.
because as a wife,
Mhm.
as a mother, as a grandparent, I have a full-time job. I
Mhm.
work 6 days a week. I have TLC, which is every
Mhm.
day.
Mhm.
And then I have to find that time to read,
Yes.
study, and pray.
Mhm.
And when I tell you, and I'm not just pretending, when I tell you I get emotional because I don't feel like I give God enough,
Yeah. I
and it
understand.
hurts me. It really hurts me.
Yes. Yes.
So what
Yes.
I have been praying lately is
Mhm.
God help me balance this thing.
Mhm.
But what I have to learn to do, even with my husband, my children, even on my job, is to designate, which is something that I'm
Yeah.
not used to.
Yeah.
I am used to doing everything,
Everything. Yeah.
especially I've been by myself for 7 years. And
Mhm.
so I would say it's my fault if I don't tell you what I need from you. But after
Yeah.
I tell you what I need from you, if I don't get it, then it's not my fault anymore.
Right.
Ministry calls for a whole lot. You know, Tremaine, Tony, I don't know
Mhm.
what your position is in ministry, but ministry takes a lot out of you. And especially with me, is if people pull on me when I say all day. I literally with my phone, Tremaine, Tony, I have to hit no or decline all throughout the
Mhm.
day. I have to choose who I talk to.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes I say, God, don't let my spirit be vexed.
Yeah.
This person, because
Yeah.
this has been my life for the last, I want to say
Mhm.
at least 15 years. And
Mhm.
so I could be in the bed at 1 in the morning and somebody would text me. They're contemplating suicide. If I'm not tapped in with the Holy Spirit, I won't know that. Do you know how many
Right.
people have called me and said a week or two later, say, if you wouldn't have answered your phone, I was getting ready to end my life. But
Mm.
because I can hear God saying, pick up the phone. So
Yeah.
it's I get emotional because I carry a lot. And I've been on the prayer line for 15 years, and that's
Mhm.
Monday through Friday, but I leave prayer every Thursday. I probably haven't missed 10 weeks in the last 15 years praying on that line. But what I told them this Thursday past, I said, I never asked for prayer from you guys. But today, I'm asking you, for me and
Mhm.
my family, I felt like I was literally sinking in a sinkhole. And you
Mm.
don't want to get there because that can cause damage to not just you, but everybody that is attached to you. So when you talk about personal care, I was telling my best friend this week past, I said, I have got to. It's a necessity to
Oh
take
yeah.
out time for me.
Yes. Mhm.
I literally I created a prayer room and it's almost done, but I created a prayer room just to go and lay and close my eyes, push my phone away, turn it off, and just meditate. That's something I've never done. Never. But the older I get, the more I realize, guys, it's necessary because
It
you're going to
is.
hear so many voices. It's so
Right.
much chatter going on. And then
Mhm.
you got to know, is this God? Is this
Yes.
really him? And so
Yes.
that's the thing. It's astronomical.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it. One thing I'm going to say is you shouldn't beat yourself up because it sounds like the work that um, you're doing his work. So because you're doing his work, you shouldn't beat yourself up if you
Mhm.
feel like you're not really giving him the time that you think you should be giving him because you're doing his work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So in the midst of you doing his work, you're still in your Bible. You're doing certain things to stay up on what you need to stay up on. So don't feel bad at all.
Mhm.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to
Yeah.
at least share that because that's what I got. You know, from that last conversation, you being intentional about taking that time to yourself, and I definitely get it. Trust and believe. That's kind of where I am now. It's just like gotta start tuning out the outside world, and because it's a lot going on, and
Yeah.
It really is.
like you said, with people's gonna bring stuff to you that you may not want to deal with
Yeah.
if it ain't
Mhm.
dealing with dealing
Yeah.
with the word and the ministry. So I mean, I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah. I'll tell you why childhood trauma is my baby. I have 4 kids. They're 35, 34, 30, and 19. And I can remember when the healing process started with that. Um, every one of my kids were staying with me. I was like, where did they come from? My oldest has 4 grands. She only had 2 when she moved
Ooh.
with me. Yeah. She only had 2, and then she had a set of twins. And so
Wow.
she was staying in Lumberton, North Carolina. I'm in Charlotte. And so I look up one day and there's a U-Haul truck pulling up in the yard. And I'm like, oh, where's she going? I wasn't married then. It was just, and so when your kids, you're by yourself, they just feel like I could just
Yeah.
pop up. I'm so she just put her stuff in storage. I was like, Rashida, where you going? She takes me out. We had just moved in the house. She takes me out and go buy a brand new living room suit. I said, so that's what she's doing that for. Because she's moving back. I was like, but that was comical.
Yeah.
But I began to, when we all got in the house together as adults, except my baby then, Kyra was probably 10. I can remember us beginning to bump heads, right? And God started showing me different things that I did as a mother when they were children. I would be because I was a strict mom. My kids didn't go spend a night at people homes, um, at all. Like they were on my hip. I raised them in church. I didn't let them listen to any and everything. I kind of guarded them, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. Their portals.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really now I messed up along the way. Where
Mhm.
I go 3 years and I be good. And then here comes a guy that would be interested and he talked for a few months and then we start, so it would
Yeah.
be, but as soon as God would convict me, it would be like, I cut it off. So it was nothing concrete. And
Mhm.
so, but my son watched me. My girls did not hold it against me as much as my son did. And
Mhm.
so he paid attention to those things. And especially with his dad not being in the house. So one day it just stuff kept being thrown up. So one day when I went to God and asked for forgiveness and what I did that caused the damage, I set them down. And a lot of parents won't do this. We want to blame the kids for everything. You can't do that.
Right. Right.
So, yeah, maybe your parents never got to that point. Maybe, God never showed them where they erred at or whatever,
Mhm.
because but he gave me that opportunity. And
Mhm.
I just began to see a cycle with them until one day I just cried. I was like, "Oh, I can't do this. Something's not right." And I would go in the bathroom and I would cry. And then I come back out as if I hadn't cried. And so
Mhm.
this went on for about 2 or 3 years. And one day the Lord said, "Apologize to them." And I was like, "Apologize?" He said, "Yeah." So I set them all down in my living room, all four of them. And I said, "Listen," I said, "I didn't make every right choice." I said, "I didn't do everything right, but I did the best that I could with y'all by myself." I said, "You
Right.
never lived in a slum. You didn't ride in no raggedy beat down car. You were never without food. You were always clean. Lights stayed on, water stayed on. Even if we had to go and rig something, it did it." I'm that parent that will say, "I struggled." I'm telling
Yeah.
you,
Oh
hey, they
yeah.
turn the water off. I get my son, go turn the water back on.
Mhm.
When I pay, I just pay the whole thing, and they come back to turn it on. It's already on. I mean, I did that because I felt
Mhm.
like I was responsible for them. Their dad wasn't in their life, no child support, no nothing. I'm taking care
Right.
of them in Charlotte, North Carolina, and y'all know Charlotte is
Oh
expensive.
Mhm.
wow.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Real quick, I don't mean to cut
Yes.
you off real quick. Were you that parent that somehow got the bootleg cable?
Yep, sure did. As soon as I could. Yes, when I found, but we didn't. I'm joking, but I did, but
I
not
know,
when they were
I know.
young. When they were younger, I didn't, because TV was something that I didn't let them watch a lot of,
Okay.
different
Yeah.
stuff. So cable gave them access to too much, because once I bought it, BET. Oh, that was it. I was like, it's getting cut off, because BET then started being crazy, with
Mhm.
all the vulgar language, with the rap and all that. It wasn't a clean rap. It was all, so I cut it off. But
Yeah.
I did all those things, Tony,
Mhm.
to make sure my kids were comfortable. They didn't have a whole
Yeah.
lot. They'll tell you, you know, but when I sat them down, I said to them, I said, "I just want to say I'm sorry. I don't want you to go through what I went through."
Mhm.
Because honestly, I smiled all throughout childhood, my adult life. But can I just tell you, and I'll be honest, I lived a complicated life that people thought it was easy.
Wow.
I made it look like a
Yeah.
cakewalk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody would say, "Oh my God, Nettie's so strong. Oh my God, Nettie doing this. Oh
Mhm.
my God, she is."
Mhm.
But they didn't know
Yeah.
behind closed doors, my pillow would
Mhm.
be wet every night from crying.
Yes. Yes.
They didn't know that when
Mhm.
I woke up in the morning, I didn't know if my vehicle would be outside. They didn't
Right.
know that I would pull it in the garage to keep it from being towed. They didn't know, or repossess. They didn't know any of that.
Mhm.
They didn't know, but I wanted my kids to see, and that's what my baby girl says, "Mom, I don't know how you did it." She said, "You made it look so easy." But the older ones, because they were more mature and
Right.
they saw more than she did.
Yeah.
She was just one I had to take care of. That was three.
Mhm.
So
Mm.
so when I apologized to them and they forgave me, that wasn't the end of the story. It
Mm-mm.
took years to work through that with the disagreements. And
Yep.
now I'll let you guys ask anything, but I want to say this. Last year, my oldest daughter called me, and she was the one, because she was the oldest, saw me take so much and couldn't figure out, but never would say anything. But it affected her. So
Mhm.
that I saw that trickle down to her. And I used to say, "Girl, you just like me." "No, I'm not, mama." I said, "Oh, you are. But I'm trying to tell you, don't do this, because this is going to be the consequence." Every time she did it, and every time she went through what I went through, but she had
Wow.
me. But my mom died at 20 when I was 26. So I didn't have the help
Mhm.
that she had. But
Right.
what I want to say is, once I got to that point and I was able to admitting it wasn't enough. I had to accept that I had messed up in those areas.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then when you acknowledge it, and then don't throw nothing back at them when they come with something, trying to
Mhm.
justify it. Then
Mhm.
it becomes dialogue. And so when my
Mhm.
oldest daughter called me last year, she broke down on the phone. She said, "Mama, y'all, this thing messed me up." She said, "I know that you have gone through so much." She said, "But I was sitting here because the trauma that she went through, she blocked out a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I remember everything from the time I was about 2 in New York.
Yeah.
Well, I remember. My memory is good." And so she said, "Mom, I want to tell you that I had blocked out everything, but God began to bring everything back to my remembrance." She said, "And when Daddy beat you, you stayed. You still took us around his side of the family, my grandmother." She said, "You never mistreated him. You never mistreated his side of the other side of the family." She said, "I saw you endure so much."
Wow.
She said, "But the one thing I want to tell you, thank you for allowing him to walk, our biological dad, so that our real father could raise us."
Wow.
So keeping them in church, teaching them
Yeah.
what was right from wrong, living a
Mhm.
life in front of them. So when I would mess up, I would listen, "You don't want to do that. That's not good." I was never the parent that do something and say, "Girl, you still but no, I messed up." So I was very transparent with them in times that they would catch me. Now, if they didn't catch me, they won't know it. But if they saw it, I admitted it. And
Mhm.
when she called me and told me that, it was almost like a weight of cinder blocks that lifted off
Mhm.
of my heart. So yeah, yep.
Mhm. Why do you think? 'Cause that's something that, like, with my son, I've tried to teach him from he was a teen until he graduated high school. Just certain things, kind of get him prepared. But why do you think they still make the mistakes that we made? Why do you think these?
Because they really don't feel like they will. Here's the words that she would always say to me: "Your son is looking at you, right?
Hmm.
And he's seeing you're not a failure.
Mhm.
He knows you may make mistakes, but he knows you're not a failure, you're not a quitter."
Mhm.
Right.
So he feels like, okay, even if it's dude, I'm not gonna turn out bad. Look at my dad. So I
Right.
feel like I'll use my daughter. I feel like my daughter watched me. And these were the words that came out of her mouth. She said, "You gotta trust me to know that you raised me right. That if I mess up, that God's got me just like he had you."
Wow.
At that
Oh.
point, Tony, this is what I
Yeah.
did. I said,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
But then with that being said to me, now here comes some tough love.
Hmm.
Don't call me and say, "Give me $30 for no diapers," if you don't want to listen to me.
Right.
So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Right.
So
yeah,
Right.
so
yeah.
give
Yeah.
them that space, allow them to
Right,
mess
right,
up.
right.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prime example, when we got married, she moved from about 30 minutes from where I stay now all the way back to Charlotte. And I was thinking in my mind, why would you do that? You have
Hmm.
a stable place. You
Mhm.
Why would you do this? Did God tell you? No. That's okay. So God woke me up one morning. I was going to surprise my grands, and my daughter was going to school there. And I was on the highway and I texted her. I said, "Don't tell the kids I'm coming." I was going to church to surprise them. I said, "I'm coming." She calls me. Y'all hear this? "You left anyway when I said don't go." She said,
Mhm.
"Mama, you coming to Charlotte?" I said, "Yep, I'm on my way now." She said, "Ah." I said, "What's the matter, Rock? I just can't do this." And she broke down. Now, of course, that's my oldest, but that's still my baby. So my heart
Mhm.
melted, and I'm driving down the road, and tears rolling on my face. And all of I was like, no, I'm not talking to myself. No, I'm not doing this. I'm not falling for this. She was like, "I think I'm just gonna move back home." I said, "Hold up." Now I had just got married. I said, "You can't come back here." So you're gonna have to figure this one out.
Yeah.
That was
Wow.
that was hard.
And you stood on that.
Eh, She ain't here.
Wow.
Ooh.
That wasn't hard because of her. It
Yeah.
was hard because of my grands. They
Mhm.
are dear to my heart. And
Yeah.
children don't ask to come here. Babies don't So
Right.
Right, right.
that's something that's hard for me to kind of decipher,
Hmm.
what
Mhm.
to do and what not to do.
Mhm.
They can text Nana all day and say, Nana, can you send me $20 to get something to eat? If I can afford it, most of the time I will, you know,
Mhm.
because they don't do it often,
Right.
but they're close to my heart. But I had
Yeah.
to separate that
Yeah, yeah.
and make her stand on her, and
Right,
it was
right,
rough for her,
right.
and she's still going through, and she gonna go through until she get to the
Mhm.
point where she says, I gotta pause before I make rational decisions.
Hmm.
I can't just react off of my emotions and my feelings. I gotta wait when I
Right,
don't have
right,
the
right,
answer.
right.
That's how I got into
Mhm.
a lot of the bad situations, circumstances, just
Mhm.
because I felt like I could do it at that moment and it was feasible. It wasn't what God said. And at the end,
Mhm.
you're gonna have to either turn around or you're gonna have to go through that water. It could be mud, it could be a storm, it could be, but you got to go through it to get to the other side. Not that God
Hmm.
won't bring you
Right,
out, but you got to go through it.
Yeah.
right.
Talk about
Excellent.
your book project and what you hope it does for people that's going through childhood trauma and like not really have addressed it.
With the book that I am working on now, my prayer is that when people read this, that if you look at society now, it's biblical, but there are things that we can actually change the trajectory of things. That if we knew what we were dealing with, my prayer is that parents that give up on their kids, kick them out, or other people in ministry that are say to a person, that's just the way they are, you know,
Mhm.
not knowing that they were molested as a child, um, or not knowing they were abused as a child, not knowing that they were mentally abused. We always think that abuse is physical, but mentally, it's just as bad as physically being
Right,
abused.
right, right.
Because what
Mhm.
a person says to you, you start to believe it if you keep
Yes,
hearing it over
yes,
and over and
yes.
over. So my prayer with this book, Tony, is that it would go into the hands of from a child all the way up to a 70 or 80-year old. You don't have to be a part of my family to help me. You know, you may see my daughter in the street somewhere, and because you're aware of what you read or what you know, what we talked about, and you see them, if you have any type of discernment, and I'll say this is not just all spiritual discernment. Some
Mhm.
of this is just pure common sense.
Right.
Right.
When we
Plain
look
old
at
common sense.
situations that people are dealing with and going through, my dad was an alcoholic. Okay. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to say, why are all four of my brothers drinking?
Mhm.
All three, I'm sorry. All three of my brothers, because it was four of us by my dad. My oldest five siblings, their dad was murdered. So with my dad kids, I'm the only female. Why was I the only one that didn't drink? That was because my mom never drank or smoked. So I didn't lean toward what my dad was doing. I didn't like what he was doing. So I kind of leaned toward my mom. And out of nine siblings, I was the only one that never took a drink. Only one that never smoked weed. Only one that never did that. Does that make me any better than the rest? Absolutely not. Because I can write a list of stuff that I did do. But those things I did not do because I paid attention of the outcome and
Hmm.
I didn't want it.
Yeah. Any questions, Trey?
Oh, am I still frozen? I was frozen at first.
Oh, you was frozen. Okay. Well, I see you now.
Well, I'm gonna go back to can y'all hear me?
Yeah. Hmm.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. Hmm.
Are y'all can hear me now? Oh, my apologies. Okay, what I just want to ask a question. What role does forgiveness plays in your journey both
Oh,
towards others and yourself?
y'all, it's amazing that you would ask that because that's the beginning of everything.
I know I struggle with it from time to time.
I don't anymore. And I'll tell you why. I was in prayer one night. I didn't know why I was steady choosing the wrong man. I didn't know why. I didn't understand what love really
Mhm.
meant. I didn't all of that. But I was in prayer one night and I was laying out and I had a prayer shawl over me. But I felt God was like a sheet, pull it back
Mhm.
from over me. And he showed me my daddy's face. And he said to me, "This is where it started."
Mm.
Now, I forgave my dad before he died in '05. My sister
Mhm.
was murdered in May of '94. Let me tell you how important forgiveness is. My sister was murdered in May of '94. The man that murdered her, I never had an ill will toward him. Never.
Wow.
I literally just gave my life back to Christ April of
Mhm.
'94 and she was killed in May. And God showed me this, y'all, for years in a dream, and I didn't understand it. But I want to fast forward because I don't want to hold this on here long. So I can remember the day that it happened. And I was I thought I was going to lose my mind. My mom was already sick with cancer, and
Mhm.
bitterness and could have settled in my heart so easy. I remember November the 3rd, my mom died. Okay. Um, December the 3rd, in jail, somebody went and told him that my mom died. Now, he used a knife from my mother's kitchen to kill her with. Walked in there, got the knife off the wall, came and sat back beside my mom, sat there a few minutes, and then left and went to the rest home and commenced to stabbing my sister when the phone rung. Okay. I still never had any ill will. And I'm going to tell you why. And for every situation is different. But I heard the Lord say to me during that time, before my mother even passed, he said, everybody obeys their master. That wasn't him. Because he wouldn't lift a finger to hurt nobody. He wouldn't fight. He was not argumentative. She's gone. Um, any of that. But he did it. And so what I did was I went to his funeral. He died December the 3rd, a month later. Soon as they told him he had a massive, I went to make sure, Tony, that there was nothing in my heart. So when I went to the funeral, I felt no hard feelings and I was good. But the one thing that keeps me humble is to remember he committed murder, but at some point in my life, I did too. Whether it was with my tongue, whatever it may have been. So if God can forgive me, I knew I had to forgive him. And that's how I played that role throughout life. But when he showed me where it all started from, with holding things in my heart, my dad, I knew then that that's what I had to focus on, with making sure that I had forgiven my dad. And in our book, um, gosh, what's her name? The one that was coach, she was kind of like doing everything with us. Oh gosh, what's her name? She's an author. Uh, anyway, she called me one day and she says, "Is there anything that you feel like you miss with your dad?" I said, "Yes," and I broke down crying. I said I had so many questions to ask him, but then the Lord let me know there was no need to ask those questions. The answer would have been the same, and then it could have been something else in my heart that I may not have been able to deal with. So when he left him here, he and I were closer than close. And I'm grateful that I got that opportunity to mend that relationship. So forgiveness is the key with everything. I, and that's why, Tony, for me, if I mess up, I immediately say I'm sorry. And I don't have a problem with that.
That's huge. A lot of people do, and it's good that you did that. 'Cause a lot of people have a situation like yours, and they don't get the opportunity to mend the fence, so to speak, and make up with that person and forgive that person, to at least try to build something
Hmm.
before they pass, and they end up, walking around. Now we have another trauma we're dealing with sometimes as adults, where what if I would have been there for X, Y, and Z, or what if I had just forgiven him or her and
Yeah.
moved? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was a good thing that you did that
Oh, yeah.
for sure. All right, anything else, Trey? You keep dropping out here. You got a bad signal?
My service is bad. It's been
Nah.
acting up. One more question.
Mhm.
What legacy do you hope to leave for future generations in terms of overcoming and healing childhood trauma? Did you
Listen,
get
I
it?
hope. Yep, I did. I heard you. Um,
Okay.
m- my prayer of the legacy that I want to leave is that generational curses be broken. Um, because what I found out is, and all that I've talked about tonight, all of those come with attachments. And it's not just one thing that you deal with, it's multiple things. Trust issues. I mean, people pleasing, um, low self-esteem. I don't care how good you look. And I had to share this and minister to a young girl the other day. I said, I don't care about your clothes. I don't care if you're a you have your doctorate. I don't care. Self-esteem comes from the inward out, not the outward in. So how do you feel on the inside? Because I was one that you would think I had it all together, but I was so intimidated by people. But my
Hmm.
favorite verbiage now, I don't care what they think about me. I don't care if
Yes.
I mess up a million times in one day. You're not my God.
Hmm.
You're
Right,
not my
right,
God.
right.
And I won't let you hold nothing over my head.
Hmm.
Because if truth be told, every individual on the face of this earth, we err every day, whether it's omission or
Right,
commission. So at the end of the day,
right,
you don't have a right to tell me. Now, I'm not going to dismiss passive sinning. I'm not that,
right.
just doing things and practicing it. But I'm talking about when you make a
Hmm.
mistake. You're not holding that over my head.
Hmm.
That's
Right.
something I had to grow into. Now, it does hurt
Hmm.
if I do
Yeah.
something to somebody. That is God's heart. I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't do it
Right.
intentionally at all. People would think, no, when you truly have God and that
Hmm.
agape love, you never do things on purpose. I have a this is where I need help at. And it's still stemming from my childhood trauma. I
Yeah.
need help in the era in the area of managing my issues.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
what I mean by that is when something bothers me, I need to deal with it right. This is me. I can't talk about nobody else. I have to deal with it in the moment. When many people say don't,
Right. Yes.
I
Yeah.
don't do I don't do good holding stuff in and day out
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
trying to
Yes.
and then when somebody do something, all of it comes out. And then I can't
Right.
get my
Right. Right.
words right. So you're not understanding
Right.
what I'm trying to articulate to you because
Right.
honestly, my brain goes faster than my mouth. Oh,
Uh-huh.
and so it's the words are coming, and that's one of the
Hmm.
issues in my marriage right now, and that's
Hmm.
why I tell people I'm very transparent. But that's something he has to pray for me in that area, and I don't want to say get used to it, but help me overcome it. But
Right.
what
Yes.
I see in relationships, not just marriages, many people who are to come together in covenant relationships because they don't want to take the time to
Hmm.
adapt to the other person and
Yes. Yes.
in relationships it growth brings about changes and we
Right.
are ever
Right.
changing every
Right.
nobody should be where they're at yesterday. Every
Right.
day we should be wanting to be better. And so
Hmm.
when you look at it, I don't care if I make the same mistake I made 6 months ago. Okay, what can you do to help me not make that? Is it something that you're
Right.
doing?
Right. Right.
It's
Right.
I'm
Right.
not justifying the means, but what do we do to get past that? Because
Right. Right.
every relationship, I don't know why people think that everything just happens. No, I understand it. You may not,
Hmm.
but I understand it better than anybody that I know.
Hmm.
So when it comes to managing issues, you know,
Yeah.
until they're done with, and then
Hmm.
it's like I said, we're ever learning each other.
Right.
My marriage is fresh. It's
Yeah.
less than 3 years, even though we've known
Yeah.
each other pretty much all our. We've only been married less than 3 years, so
Right.
I have to take a step back, you know.
Hmm.
And he'll look at me like, "But you just did that 6 months ago." Yeah, but I'm somebody else this month. You know,
Right.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
and so it's not that I haven't matured. It's
Yeah.
like there's still something on the inside that needs to be healed. And
Mm-hmm.
so as a wound is uncovered, you're
Yeah.
able to put
Right.
not a bandage now, but
Mm-hmm.
put the peroxide on the inside.
Yeah.
Put
Yeah.
the alcohol that will take out the infection,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
the poison, so that it would
Mm-hmm.
not spread and that wound will heal up. So
Right.
I, I that is the key to childhood trauma. And the crazy thing is, I told him he just he don't quite understand it.
Yeah.
I explained my life as a child because I never did that in a marriage or relationship before. But I knew
Yeah.
that this was a marriage that God ordained. So I put everything on the table. Can it
Right.
be used against you? Of course. But hey, I'm
Yeah.
doing what the Lord tell me to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I'm doing what he tell me to do, he is the one that's in control. So that
That's it.
trauma as a child is
Mm-hmm.
detrimental if you don't deal with it.
It
Imagine
sure is.
if I would have
Yep.
had an opportunity in other relationships to deal with that, how much
Mm-hmm.
easier. But at the same
Yeah.
time, on another token, he needs it to grow too.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
in a relationship, it's never about the one individual, it's
Right.
about the two. So
That's it.
even though it seems as if I'm coming at him, there's something in you that needs to come
Mm-hmm.
out as well.
Right. 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 That's so true. That's good.
Real quick, what sign are you?
What sign do I sound like, Tony?
I I don't want to assume anything. You sound like I would say Taurus, but I don't want to assume that.
No, I'm a Leo.
Okay, cool.
But Jesus is my sign, ain't it right,
There you
Jermaine?
go. There
That's
you go.
it.
There you go. That's what's up. We ain't
Oh,
we ain't we're not astrological.
right, right, right. Wait,
We're
wait, wait.
Yeah.
we're spiritual.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, it was really good talking to you.
This was good.
Definitely. Yeah. How can people find the book and find more about you?
I do have a website, and it is just nettiewilliams.com. The second book is not done.
Okay.
Shine Anthology is on there. So in that book
Mm-hmm.
is some of the things that I talked about tonight. But the next book is going to be pretty deep. So yeah,
Okay. And you said it's just Nettie.
it's nettiewilliams.com.
Oh, NettieWilliams.com.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it was, I created that website before I got
Okay.
married.
Got you. All right. Fair enough. All right.
Yep.
We'll take us out of here, Tremaine. Oh, you there?
Is she, you froze?
I'm back. If I
Oh
first
Lord.
still first, I'm back.
Yeah, no, you're good. All right,
Jeez.
you're good. All right, we thank you for listening or watching the Carver Ave Chronicles
Yes.
podcast. Please like, subscribe, and comment. We do thank Miss Nettie. Is it Jones?
Jones.
Nettie.
Jones.
Jones.
We thank Miss Nettie Jones for
Yes.
coming on and sharing with us. I'm sure you guys got some good nuggets out of this. I know I did.
Yes.
We
This
will
was
see you
good.
next time. You take care. We're
All
out.
right.
Thank you,
Thank you
Nettie.
guys for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you.